Hello and welcome to Spardha Lines, your one-stop destination for the civil services preparation, UPSC, KPSC and other relevant examinations. Today we have picked up a couple of important articles which are very significant from your examination point of view. Let's get started and look into the first article for the day. The first article says contractors demand immediate clearance of the pending bills. The article here is important from your GS paper 2, which is governance. What is this article speaking about? The article here is important from your GS paper 2 governance, where it speaks about appointment of one of the commissions called as Justice Nagmohan Das Commission. So this can be very important from your KPSC examination point of view, where they may ask you a question: what was the objective of appointment of Justice Nagmohan Das Commission? So Justice Nagmohan Das Commission was basically appointed to look into two important parameters. One is to simplify the guidelines with respect to the tender process. The second is with respect to an allegation that was made that if at all a particular government contract is being issued to the contractors, in that case the government in the previous legislation, in the previous government, they were expecting a certain percentage of money or as bribe or as commission. Is it right? Is the allegation that is made by the contractors right? Do we have any substantial proof for the same? This will be investigated by the Justice Nagmohan Das Commission. So there are two objectives for the appointment of Justice Nagmohan Das Commission. Whenever there is a tender that is called, what happens in a tender? Let's say for example, I have to lay roads in the particular locality, or I have to create sewage, or for example there are other tenders that are called for the development of the infrastructure, so on and so forth. So what would happen? There will be contractors who would be given a contract. So a contract would be signed between the government as well as the contractors, and ultimately they would be able to execute a program. There would also be a tender that will be called. Whosoever is present in that particular tender, they will bid for it, and ultimately that contract would be given to a contractor. There was an allegation made against the previous government that whenever a contract was being given to the contractor, there was a certain expectation from the contractors, that is, they pay a commission to the particular group or to a legislator or to an MLA or to a group of people, so that they could also take bribe from these contractors. And this was the allegation that was made. In order to find out whether this allegation is right or wrong, what we have is the establishment of Justice Nagmohan Das Commission. Why is it important from your GS paper 2 perspective? That is because in your GS paper 2 governance, what you also have is corruption related matters. So there is quid pro quo, there is reciprocity that is expected, and at the same time there is expectation of bribe from the government officials. If at all this is proved, in that case it becomes a case for corruption. So Justice Nagmohan Das Commission was appointed to see if these allegations made by the contractors of alleging the commission from the contractors for the tender to be sanctioned to them, is it correct, is it right, is it true, is what will be investigated by Justice Nagmohan Das Commission. That apart, what this Justice Nagmohan Das Commission will also put across is with respect to the simplification of a tender process. As of now, we have a tender process. So we have a particular notification that will be released. You will have that there will be an irrigation project, construction of an irrigation project, construction of a dam related project, or for example, there will be laying of roads or underground drainage system that will be laid. For all these, what you will have is a tender process that will be called. Or for example, if it is within the limits of the BBMP, then you will also have the waste segregation as well, waste collection as well. For each of these, what you have is a tender process. Is the tender process right now filled with lacuna? Is the tender process right now filled with the right steps that needs to be taken? All of it will be examined by the Justice Nagmohan Das Commission, and they will simplify this entire tender process. So there is two nature. One is to simplify the tender process so that each of them would be able to apply for the tender, so that they would be able to apply for the auction. This simplification process will be undertaken by Justice Nagmohan Das Commission, and at the same time they will also ensure if the allegation made by the against the previous government is right or wrong. Added to it, what the contractors are also seeking for is the immediate clearance of the pending bills. what happens? Let's say for example, there is a contract that is given by the BBMP to one of the contractor. What should the contractor do? The contractor should go to house. He will be collecting the waste and ultimately he will be taking that to the site where he will dump it, or there is a waste segregation that happens and ultimately it is cleansed. This is the process that is ultimately implemented by the contractor. So what should the government do? The government should periodically keep paying the bills as well. It is on a monthly basis, or it might be on a quarterly basis, or it might also be on an yearly basis as per the terms and conditions that are established in the contract. What if the government is not paying the bills? It means that these people will not be able to pay their salary workers. It means that they would not be able to pay those people who are working on a daily wages workers, and ultimately there is no money that is coming from the government. There is pending bills as well. So contractors are now seeking the government, asking the government, pleading before the government that, dear government, we have not paid our contractual workers, we have not paid our monthly wage workers, so kindly give us the money, kindly pay us the bills that you owe to us. But the government has said that once the Justice Nagmohan Das Commission report is back to us, he gives us the report, that is when we would be able to disperse the money. Is what is this article or important? So this can be important from your corruption related aspect of your governance, and at the same time from your preliminary examination point of view, where they can ask you, what was this Justice Nagmohan Das Commission all about? So what is that I want you to do? Justice Nagmohan Das Commission was previously also appointed to check another attribute with another objective. What was it appointed for is what you have to put on the comment section. If you're liking these initiatives, please to hit the like button and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now let's look into the next article. This article says, CM launches Yuva Nidhi, says Modi's claim on guarantees proved wrong. The article here is speaking about one of the initiatives taken by the government of Karnataka called as Yuva Nidhi. What is this program or a scheme of Yuva Nidhi? We have the government of Karnataka which started this program called as Yuva Nidhi. What is Yuva Nidhi? Yuva stands for youth, Nidhi stands for a repository or a coffer or a money from which money is taken out of. Why was this initiative taken by the government of Karnataka? That is because the government of Karnataka believes that whenever there are people who are working, let's say for example, whenever there are people who have studied either their diploma courses or they have finished their graduate courses, it takes some time for them to actually get a job. So they might be looking for a job for a very long period of time. Despite constant efforts to find a job, the unemployment crisis continues to prevail. So if there is a person who is trying to get a job, find employment source, and is not able to find a job despite putting his hard-earned efforts, after like 6 months, if he is still not able to find a job for himself, he is not able to create an employment opportunity for himself, in that case a certain amount of money would be given to this individual who happens to be a resident of Karnataka. So what is this Yuva Nidhi? The government will begin the distribution of allowances on Jan 12th, which happens to be the National Youth Day, which is celebrated to mark the celebration of Vivekananda's birth anniversary. So the scheme offers monetary assistance of 3,000 to all those who are graduates and 1,005 years to diploma holders who passed in the 2022-23 academic award. So basically, if there is a person who is a graduate and this person has tried hard, is not able to find a job, not able to find any employment resource, in that case he would still be able to get 1,500 if he is a diploma holder, and he would be getting about 3,000 if he happens to own a graduate degree. So what are the qualifications that is required? What is the eligibility criteria? That this person who is seeking benefits from this scheme should be a resident of Karnataka. He should not be a person from another state. So he should be a resident of Karnataka. That's the first criteria. Second is, this person should have passed out diploma, or he should be a graduate from one of the colleges which is sanctioned by law in the state, and at the same time you should have passed out for the year 2022 and 23. You should not have job for 6 months after passing. So for the first 6 months he should try hard. If he is not able to find a job for 6 months, that is when he would be provided, and this person should not be reaping benefits from any other scheme as well. So if the government of Karnataka is giving 1,500 or 3,000 to a person, this person should not be deriving benefits from any other scheme as well. So the government of India or the government of Karnataka might be coming up with multiple schemes and programs. This person should not be a beneficiary, or he should not derive any benefits from any other similar program. So similar benefits should not be derived from another program. He should not be enrolled for higher education. Let's say he's finished his diploma, he is planning to go to engineering course, or a person has finished the graduate course, he is planning to go to the post graduation. If at all he is enrolled with post graduation or a higher degree, that individual will not be getting it. So he should be looking for job, and he should not be going for higher education. This person should also not be self-employed. Let's say for example he wants to continue an entrepreneurship journey, or he has a shop of his own, he is wanting to continue with one of the new entrepreneur skill set as well. In that case, since he is self-employed, that person will also not be deriving any benefits. And whenever the money has to be transferred, it will be direct benefit transfer, and this bank account that he is wanting to draw his money from should be linked to Aadhaar as well. These are some of the eligibility criterion that has to be met for the Yuva Nidhi program. And if at all this Yuva Nidhi program you get the benefits deriving out of it, what is the largest significance of this particular program? It provides financial assistance. This particular program provides financial assistance. So a person is trying very hard to find a let's say for example he is trying hard to get a job. Despite all his efforts, he is still not able to find a job, and ultimately it will give him a morale boost. How? For example, he will be able to invest on the skill set program. He would be able to ensure that he is not asking money from his age old parents, and at the same time he also has financial independence as well. So for that particular period of time, as long as he is not able to find a job, he need not have to rely on another person for his daily sustenance. So financial assistance will be provided by the government of Karnataka. This will give him a morale booster, and this will also reduce social unrest. How will it reduce social unrest? Let's say for example a person is putting in a lot of time and efforts to find a job. Despite all that, his job opportunities have shrunk over a period of time. So what does he do? He may engage in illegal activities as well. He may engage into notorious activities as well. But what if he has enough money? He may not engage in those kind of activities. So this will ultimately reduce social unrest, law and order problem issues, public order issues, and therefore this will reduce the social unrest. And this will also stimulate the economy, where the person with this particular money will be able to improvise on the skill set, and at the same time he would also be able to take a certain amount of money from the government and reinvest the same back into the economy for a future course of action. These are some of the advantages with respect to CM Yuva Nidhi program that has been launched by the government of Karnataka. Now let's look into the next article. This article says it's time to act against those practicing medicine sans qualification. What is this article speaking about? The article here is speaking about health related quacks, or you have people who call themselves the medical practitioners but are not given any permission by the government of India or by the government of Karnataka or any other state for that matter. Who are these quacks? Quacks are individuals or practitioners of medicine who have not been given the permission by the relevant authorities. So if at all there are individuals who are practicing medicine and they do not have the right qualification, or they have not been given permission by the established authority or an institution, such individuals will be called as quacks. What is the instant case? In the instant case, there happens to be a person who would hold a diploma degree. He is not a doctor, he just holds a diploma degree in paramedical course. Despite having a diploma in paramedical course, he happens to act like a doctor. He goes on to become a doctor. He also becomes a practitioner of allopathy medicine and ultimately will start giving medicines to the people in Kolar district of Karnataka. And he goes up to the government of Karnataka. He happens to go to the institution of government of Karnataka and he seeks permission to open a clinic. After looking into the papers and his relevant degree and his diploma degree, there is an institution, that is the diploma in community medical services with essential drugs, which happens to be a paramedical course, is being looked into by the institution, and ultimately the district registration committee rejects his claim of opening the clinic. So what exactly happens? This person goes and files for establishing a clinic, and the district committee looks into his papers. He does not have the right permission, he does not have the right degree, and ultimately this is being rejected. So he goes to the High Court and he says that he's been practicing medicine for so many years and is yet not being given the permission to practice medicine, and the High Court looks into it and they call him for his ludicrousy and ultimately dismisses his petition. And the government of Karnataka is now asking, and the High Court of Karnataka is now looking and asking the government to ensure that we do not have such practices in the near future. And now the district authority has sealed his clinic for not pursuing registration under the act. He had allegedly opened the clinic by breaking open the seal and subsequently applied for registration. So basically there are many practitioners or quacks or people who do not have enough experience. They do not have the permission given by the institutions or by the law passed by the state and the country. Despite that, they continue to practice medicine. Such institutions, such clinics, such individuals should be barred from practice. So the High Court has requested the government of Karnataka to ensure that we do not have such people who are practicing in the profession of medicine. Is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about Kathak. This can be very important from your preliminary examination point of view. From the examination point of view, remember, Kathak happens to be native to northern part of India, We have 8 classical Indian dance forms. Which are these 8 classical Indian dance forms is what you have to put on the comment section. As part of this classical Indian form, one of the dance form happens to be Kathak. And this Kathak basically originated during the Bhakti movement. What happens with Kathak? As the very name denotes, Kathak is nothing but a storyteller. Kathakar. So from the word called as Kathakar emanates the word called as Katha. Who is a Kathakar? As the very name denotes, a person who is able to tell a story is a Kathakar. If I am able to convince a certain section of people that this is a story, this is how the story runs, I am able to convince the people would obviously listen to this entire storytelling. So who is a Kathakar? A Kathakar is nothing but a person who is able to tell a story, who is able to keep people and audience with him, is what is called as a Kathakar. This Kathakar or a storyteller over a period of time also started telling stories. He goes to temples, he brings in the mythological picture, he also speaks about the Ramayana and Mahabharata and starts telling the stories. As and when he starts telling the stories, he also starts practicing makeup, applies the makeup, and he also looks into a certain particular dance form, and this form that derives out of the Kathakar or the storytelling is what is called as Kathak. Initially, this was only a storytelling part, but over a period of time, he also starts enacting it. He also starts adding steps to it, and this ultimately goes on to become what is called as Kathak. This Kathak, as in initially, was highly with respect to the Hindu religion, but over a period of time, people started performing in Muslim Mughal courts. They also started performing before the Persian kings as well, and ultimately it became practices of both Hindu as well as the Muslim cultures. There are different types of Gharana that we see. What is Gharana? Gharana is basically style. For example, if there is Bharatanatyam, for example, if there is Kathak. Kathak in this particular case, if it is practiced in a particular region or by a certain section of people, that is what is called as Gharana. So we have Lucknow Gharana, or for example we might have a particular region or a place or an individual who brings in his own expertise into that particular dance format. That is what is called as Gharana. Gharana is nothing but a style. It is a particular kind of practice. So Wajid Ali Shah of Lucknow paid special attention to the emotional expressiveness of this dance, and the Lucknow Gharana of Kathak was founded by Ishwari Prasad, who happens to be a devotee of the Bhakti movement. So what is Gharana here? Gharana is nothing but the style. It is nothing but a practice which has been followed by a group, or it is practiced in a particular religion. And once the colonial rule happened from 17th century and subsequently after that, they started making fun of Kathak. They started making fun of other classical dance form as well, which also led to decline or the discouragement to Kathak. But over a period of time after independence, it again started increasing. The number of people who started practicing Kathak increased over a period of time, but Kathak decreased during the colonial period. That is because it was subjected to contemptuous fun and discouragement from the people of the colonial rule. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about the Hindustani music. The article makes a mention about the Hindustani vocalist, so it becomes important for us to understand the difference between Hindustani classical music and the Carnatic classical music. This is part of your GS paper 1, which is culture. When we speak about Hindustani classical music, it is practiced in North India. But when it comes to Carnatic classical music, where is it practiced? It is practiced in southern part of India. So the Hindustani is practiced in the northern part of India. Carnatic is practiced in the southern part of India. When it comes to the ragas, they are divided into tat as per this system of the Hindustani classical system. The ragas are divided as Melkarta as per the Carnatic classical system. When it comes to Hindustani classical music, the time of singing each raga is strictly observed, and ragas are sung only according to their time. No time theory is followed, and any raga can be sung at any time in the Carnatic classical music. There are various gharanas in the system of the music. So as I told you in the earlier article, gharanas are nothing but the style. It is a unique attribute that is associated to an individual or to a group or to a specific region. So when it comes to Hindustani classical music, you have gharanas, which are nothing but the unique style and the invention of a particular group or a region. This is available in the Hindustani classical music, but it is not available in the Carnatic classical music. So there is no Gharana classification in the Carnatic classical music. When it comes to Hindustani classical music, it is equally divided between vocal and instrumental music. And when it comes to Carnatic classical music, it is more inclined towards vocal music, but instrumental music is also present, which means there is a balance in vocal and instrumental music in Hindustani, but more emphasis is given to the vocal music in the Carnatic classical music. There are improvisations which are given most importance to Hindustani. Compositions are given more importance in the Carnatic classical music. The Shruti concept is not practiced in detail in Hindustani classical music, but Shruti concept is practiced in detail, and a lot of emphasis is given to it in the Carnatic classical music. These are the major differences which are very important from your examination point of view. Now let's look into the next article. This article says law of numbers. What is this article speaking about? The article here is speaking about the deliberations and the discussions which are supposed to have happened in the parliament, but because of the brute number of the executive, these deliberations and discussions are not taking place in the parliament, is what is this article all about. So this article goes on to say that whenever a legislation is being passed, for example, we have one of the landmark decisions taken by the government of India where they wanted to revamp the entire criminal justice system. So the criminal justice system basically has the IPC, it also has the CRPC, and we also have the Evidence Act. So these three are the foundations of the criminal justice system. This is now being replaced by other acts as well. For example, Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, so on and so forth. So whenever we have a legislation, this legislation has to replace, it will require a lot of discussions, deliberations, so on and so forth. But with the brute force and the numbers that the executive have, they have been able to have far-reaching consequences and there is not much of debates that have taken place, says this article. So this article goes on to say that whenever there is a legislation that needs to be passed, what we require is a lot of discussion, deliberation, the opposition political parties putting out their viewpoint, and this also has to be taken into picture by the executive. But in this particular case, there are opposition political party members who have been suspended, and these numbers are more than 90 people as well. There are not many people who of the opposition political parties who are currently in the parliament. So that being the situation right now, how can a legislation be passed? This is ultimately against the normal proprietary rules of the parliament, is what is this article speaking about. So this article goes on to say that whenever there is a legislation that is being passed, this will have to require conflicting viewpoints as well, such that there emanates a constructive outcome because of these conflicting viewpoints, and that is the need of the parliament. If at all the government is not paying heed to such deliberations and discussions, what we will have is rush of the bills without much of the deliberations. So in effect, it will derail the parliamentary functioning and obtain a free pass for the executive, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about the Gulf of Aden. The Gulf of Aden happens to be an important region, and as you can see from the image, this happens to be the region of Gulf of Aden. So the Gulf of Aden is about 800 to 1000 kilometers out. What does it connect? It connects the Red Sea, which is here, to the Arabian Sea, which is here. So it happens to be a region which connects the Red Sea with the Arabian Sea, and you also have Babul Mandab here. This is another important point from the preliminary examination point of view, and this region is known for trade related activities. So the Persian region, or for example you have the Gulf region, where there is lot of oil and other related commodities. So this oil or fuel or energy related commodities is transferred by this particular region, and ultimately it reaches large number of countries. So the first important parameter is that all the trade related activities in this region will pass through the Gulf of Aden. That's the first part. The second part is that whenever we are speaking about the Gulf of Aden, there are a lot of fishing activities that takes place as well in and around, and it provides source of livelihood for the people in and around it. And there can also be preliminary practice questions which will ask you, Gulf of Aden is between which two countries? It is between Yemen and Somalia. And they might also ask you, there is Babul Mandab, which is across which of the following Gulf? So this can also be another important question. But why are we discussing about Gulf of Aden? That is because there are a lot of piracy related activities that are taking place in the Gulf of Aden. Now the question is, what is this piracy? Where is it defined? Article 101 of the United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea determines the piracy consists of following acts. What does it include? Any illegal acts of violence or detention, or any act of depredation committed for private ends by the crew or the passengers of a private ship or a private aircraft on the high seas against another ship or aircraft, or against persons or property on board, against a ship, aircraft, persons or property in a place outside the jurisdiction of any state, any act of voluntary participation in the operation of a ship or an aircraft with knowledge of facts making it a private ship, or any act of inciting or intentionally facilitating an act described in sub-paragraph. So basically, let's assume for a moment that there is a ship that is going, or for example, there is a cargo ship that is going in a particular area. This particular ship might be a property of an individual of another country. Now what if this particular ship is taken over by a group or an individual which does not own it? So illegally capturing it, illegally taking over the ship or a cargo ship and making use of it for their private goals is what is called as piracy. For example, there might be a ship which is carrying fuel, or there might be a cargo which has lots of goods and lot of goods in that particular ship. Now there is another private group that comes over, takes over the ship, and they use it for their private purposes, and that is what is called as piracy. So in order to prevent piracy, what we have is Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has had a word with Saudi Arabian Prince to bring an end to such acts of piracy. So this article basically goes on to say that there are a lot of piracy related activities that is taking place in Gulf of Aden. So we have to bring an end to it. So we have Prime Minister Narendra Modi who has had a word with the Saudi Arabian prince. That is what we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says India-Russia Inc. key pacts related to Kudankulam nuclear power plant. The Kudankulam happens to be a nuclear power plant which is based out of Tamil Nadu. This happens to be India's largest, is being built in Tamil Nadu with the technical assistance of Russia. So the construction began in March 2002. So this can be very important from the preliminary examination point of view. So where is Kudankulam nuclear power plant? It is in the state of Tamil Nadu, and the assistance that is being taken right now is from the country of Russia. And since February 2016, the first power unit of Kudankulam has been steadily operating its design capacity of 1000 MHz. The plant is expected to start operation in full capacity from the year 2021. These are some of the important facts with respect to the nuclear power plant in Kudankulam. Now let's look into the next article. This article says Ministry sends social media firms advisory to regulate deepfakes. We have discussed about deepfakes in the past couple of daily current affairs discussion. What is deepfake? Deepfake is nothing but making use of the deep learning technology and creating fake narratives. It can be a photo or it can be a video as well. So making use of the deep learning technology, artificial intelligence to create fake narratives is what is called as deep fake. In order to control this deep fake, what we have is a notification that was released by the Ministry of Electronics. The Ministry of Electronics has reiterated that the advisory which was sent earlier in November has been reiterated to the social media platforms. So if at all there is a person who is going through a pain or has a grievance that this particular photo or a video, if not of that person, if such a notification is brought to the ambit of the social media platforms, the social media platforms will immediately have to crack down, immediately have to delete that particular video or that particular photo and ensure that this person does not suffer anymore. So we have the Information Technology Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code of 2021. So under the rules were also given. So if at all the government issues the rules, or if there is a person who's throwing open a grievance to the social media platforms, they have to remove this video or this photo immediately and should act immediately as soon as possible, is what is this article all about. So basically the deepfake technology which has become a menace has to be reduced, for which the Ministry of Electronics has issued a notification. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching, and if you are liking these two initiatives, please to like, subscribe to our YouTube channel and also share it with your fellow aspirants as well. Thank you for watching. All the best.